What's up, everybody? I'm filling in for the beautiful, but not with us tonight because she's running a little bit late. Esty, you're listening to the Just Enough Heshy show. And of course, we have the wonderful and the amazing and the head of the show. We have Heshy is here with us tonight.
Thank you.
He was able to make it.
Usually,
and of course,
usually they announce Neil before me, but okay.
No.
What do I know?
He knows the captain. The captain
we just let you think that you're in charge, but really. And of course, we have the voice of reason, Neil.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
And we have some pretty exciting news to announce for the show, actually.
Yes, thank you.
We've got a little bit of congratulations in order. Mazel tov.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Right.
But first, we have to introduce today's special guest.
We're going to introduce the special guest first. I think we should do the call. Okay, we can introduce our special guest. I'm in on that. Today we have we didn't introduce you, Z.
Oh. Well, I don't need any introduction.
Yeah, good looking and handsome Z, wearing shorts, disappointing to me.
It's summertime. I'm wearing shorts.
We're in an office.
We're in an office.
We're sophisticated people.
Listen, the video
you
camera.
Don't see me all day.
The video camera only goes yay high. No one has to know what's under here.
I see that.
That's all.
Everybody, welcome to the show, and we have a special guest, somebody from my neighborhood, a spiritual leader of Borough Park, Cantor Suzanne, yes.
Suzanne,
that's right. I said it right, Bernstein.
You got it.
And we're going to talk to her. We're going to ask her questions.
She's from, I believe, the Progressive Temple, Havat Shalom.
Beth Havat Shalom.
Beth Havat Shalom.
Beth Havat Shalom.
Ah, long name.
In Borough Park.
In Borough Park, that's
Borough
right.
Park.
46th Street between 15th and 16th Avenue.
Yeah.
I pass it
Beautiful.
for years and years.
I think they merged a few years back with another congregation.
I can tell you all about it.
We're going to hear about it.
We will.
But first, we're going to hear my quote, and then we're going to
we have a matter of business to settle.
We're going to have a matter of business settle, and then we're going to talk. But today, my quote is going to start simply, and I'm so happy that the Cantor is here with us. This is my quote, Neil. Ready to make fun, Neil? Neil always makes fun of my quote.
We all do.
I didn't know that. You all do behind my back. You're terrible people. Don't live the same year 75 times and call it a life. I'm not finished yet. Leaders, great leaders, are almost always great simplifiers who can cut through argument, debate, and doubt to offer a solution everybody can understand. The reason I say this to you, Neil, is because sometimes we have people on the show that make things complicated. Sometimes I deal with people, if you're not going to make it simple for me to understand, me, simple, plain person, then nobody will understand. And I want to understand. I want to learn. I want to argue. Yes, if you have a problem with that, I'm sorry.
No, I understand, and it sounds a little bit like Donald Trump, kind of personality.
You almost got me. You almost so serious. You vicious, terrible 30 seconds.
You're saying he's gonna run for president 75 times? That's what it sounds like.
By the way, everybody, I want to make an announcement. I put it up. By the way, I did put it on my Facebook and WhatsApp. Neil's daughter, beautiful Estedina, who I know from birth, is engaged today.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. Congratulations. Yes, wonderful. Neil,
what a wonderful guy from
Chicago,
where my married son lives.
They're all
got
gonna
married
move to,
2 years ago.
I was just in Chicago last week. I didn't know you had a son.
I didn't see you. I was right there.
Neil is trying to get all his kids out to another state.
Very smart. Chicago is awesome, by the way.
My retirement must be peaceful, but I got a ways to go.
You got like another 9 to go.
Chicago's only 800 miles.
No, let's not overdo it. I got only 4 more to go.
So
and
Neil,
2 are in high school, and the one ready at the batter's plate is Estedina, the one who got engaged, older sister, Devora. She's just completing her degree in computer science.
Beautiful.
Does she like long walks on the beach?
Intelligent.
Me and Neil have been preaching college to the young. We've been fighting education. We scream at the religious, the non-religious. There's no reason not to be educated, even if you don't want to use it.
Yes, just to have in your back pocket.
I have out of so many of the kids that came through me, I beg. We have a Hasidic boy who's just going to finish college this year, be a medical. That boy you said on our bench, Kinmach, he's going to be a doctor. He actually is going to be a real doctor.
Wow, I never seen that
You
actually.
remember that boy, Hasidic boy? I just love him. I can kiss him all over. Not, I mean, in a loving. I can kiss anybody I want. I am proud of him. I am proud of him. You have a problem with it?
No. I think it's great.
So before we get to the canter, we have one little business because our crazy Z needs to beat me and something. You're going to hate this, Neil. You're going to hate this.
For all the people who remember, a couple weeks ago, there was a little wager when we were discussing the escaped convicts, and I was very clear and adamant that I was 100% sure that the FBI was going to capture these two guys before the end of the month. I said within 5 years even, but just to make it interesting, I said by the end of the month. And sure enough, I was getting a little bit worried. They got one, and I was like, I don't know, maybe the other one will get away.
But it's not fair.
Just in the nick of time. Just in the nick of time. We made a bet for $100. Just to make it interesting.
I don't remember.
Do we have cameras?
We do. We're gonna go back to the record.
The camera wasn't working that day, if I'm correct. Yeah. YouTube wasn't working.
Anyway, I didn't see anything transfer now.
The fun's because the computer's down. You have to push the button.
Of course. Just in the nick of time.
See, I have a problem with the bet
because he was drunk.
He was drunk.
And therefore
cheating. You can't cheat.
I was actually the one that sent them the booze. I called the FBI. I gave them the tip. I gave them the whole system.
I was reading, Neil. I was reading the article. It's just not fair. The reason why the guy that they shot dead, he was found with a bottle of grape whiskey.
What else is he gonna do?
So, what do you mean?
What do you want him to have? Grape
the man is escaping.
Let me ask you a question.
The man is escaping.
Let me tell you.
And he goes to get drunk. What a wacko.
Let me tell you. When he had his friend there,
when
he had his friend with him,
what else did he have?
There's nothing to do.
That's it.
He had his friend with him.
Bottle with him. No food. He didn't have food.
As soon as they captured one, it was inevitable they're going to catch the other one because you two people you could keep watch, you could keep track, you have somebody to talk to. When you're by yourself, what are you going to do?
I thought he looked much tougher. Like
these guys are,
like much harder to get. Yeah.
Anyways, guys, so we are now going.
But hey, kudos to our police department.
And they spent like $13 million.
Hey,
well, guess what? Yeah, these are people that were killers. They weren't, accountants.
That system now, that whole facility is probably
in lockdown. It's in lockdown.
A whole overhaul. I mean, completely. Probably the employees, everybody's going to be switched around.
We got to make it clear that if you escape jail, they'll find you, not like whatever, and they'll shoot you.
And I think it's time for for law enforcement really to start controlling the jails instead of the gangs.
Now that we're starting our show, finally, we're going to be talking to the canter, and I want to tell everybody who would like to call into the show, please feel free to call at 718-303-9090. 718-303-9090. You can also get us on Just Enough Heshy on YouTube. You can
the show is live streaming on YouTube right now.
On YouTube. You can get me on the hashtag thing on the Twitter on Just
the Twitter,
Enough
Heshy. The hashtag, yep.
Whatever they do. Twitter me. I'm into the Twittering.
They Twitter him.
And of course,
Facebook.
On Facebook, Just Enough Heshy. And of course, my daily quotes and my trivia is going out. And tonight we're going to have a very cool trivia question about the president.
But I have been having some complaints from people.
What?
Just a few?
Just some? Want out of your quote.
No. Once you're in, you're in for life.
You're somehow
there's no escape.
Like quicksand or something.
I don't understand.
Once they're in,
there's no escape.
Neil, I give you two stupid
middle
quotes.
Of the night, and I don't know, 2:00 in the morning, they're getting, their phone goes beep, 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 beep. And who's it from? And who's it from? I can take my phone literally and slam it so hard that I went for it.
But why? You don't look at the phone? It's 2:00 in the morning. Exactly. I don't sleep. I'm in the middle of helping the world, worrying about all you children. So I'm trying to quote you to make you
worry in itself is not help.
Okay.
Let's get that clear.
Look at his smile. Look at that vicious smile. You're a hateful human being. Anyways, I love you.
Of course he's happy. He got another one out of the house and 800 miles away, maybe.
So Neil,
they're going to live in Chicago.
Neil, you and me grew up in Borough.
Love Chicago.
Neil grew up on 46th Street, Cantor.
Yeah, a block away.
A block away.
Between 16th and 17th Avenue.
And then he lived with me for another 25 years on 44th Street. And we used to pass you all the time. Even on Yom Kippur, I used to drag him over. We went in many times on Yom Kippur. Numerous times, you and me, and we went. And we had no even beautiful. A lot of people looked at us, and we said, "This is my neighborhood. I can go
where." Our brothers and sisters.
These are brothers and sisters.
That's what it was.
So Kenta, we'd like to know. I mean, me and Neil are more. We grew up in a different mentality. Even though we're more men of the world now, we're a little older, wiser, but again, we were brainwashed in a different way of thinking. And some people say, "Oh, we don't understand," or explain to us, "Oh, they're wrong completely." How could somebody be? I mean, again, we're an Orthodox community. I am. And Neil is a little bit more hipper now.
No, but I'm Orthodox.
Right.
I follow basic Orthodox tenets, but I'm not,
You're open-minded.
I'm basically pretty liberal when it comes to people and stuff like that. But in fiscally, I'm.
But you
very
grew up
conservative.
you grew up in a synagogue where you did not see any.
The women were separate. There was a mechitza.
But not only separate, they had no official role in the synagogue, even as board members or advisory committees or anything of that nature. Running the synagogue,
they had the women did not have
even the ones who donated money and gave money, or they were still pushed back, which we feel it was wrong many times, and or they had to do.
They over there anyway. It's a male-dominated society. And that's a fact, whether you want to believe it.
Well, it's like that not just in Judaism; it's like that in every religion.
Right. So
we might hear now differently from the Cantor.
I'm saying
and you're also the Christianity spiritual director, right?
I'm now the spiritual leader. Yeah. When I first started there, well, I'll tell you a little bit about how I got going there, and a little bit about the place too.
Right.
Because as you mentioned, Neil, it is a merger of actually 3 congregations. But Progressive Temple of Borough Park has been there since 1919.
Wow.
1919.
In the
same location?
In that place.
Wow, that's older than most of the synagogues here.
Exactly. Yeah. Before it was
Borough Park.
Before it was a synagogue, it actually was a Lutheran church. And the congregation bought it from a Lutheran church. It was on the corner, right on the corner of 15th and 46.
That's great.
And they lifted up the building. They bought it for $26,000. They lifted up the building. They sold the corner property. And actually, you said you went in. The pews that are in there, they bought those pews from Temple Emmanuel in Manhattan when they moved. They bought those beautiful pews. And they've been there since 1919.
Wow.
And
Pushing
talking about
years.
women in the having roles in the temple, we're very proud to say that we had the first woman president of a temple was at Progressive Temple Borough Park. She just celebrated her 70th wedding anniversary. 70th.
Wait, she's still there?
Yes. She's not the president now.
But she's still involved.
She's still involved.
Wow.
She and her husband, 70 years married. They live on 48th Street.
Wow.
And she was the first woman president in Borough Park.
Have you experienced...
In all of Brooklyn, actually, of any congregation.
Have you experienced the other... Borough Park, when I walk down the blocks, every block is a synagogue, a school. Have you seen the growth? Have you gone into the other places? Have you seen what's going on? I mean, can you tell us something, what you feel or experience? Are you upset? Are you what's it called when they
I don't know. I would be dumbfounded, but we won't use that word.
Okay.
It's gentrified, maybe.
Not gentrified. Are they you mean
all the building going
not only
on?
Not the building going on, but
prejudicial.
No, but how do you go to prejudicial maybe against the synagogue?
Against our synagogue.
Yes.
It's a good question. And I want to finish first because to tell you the 2 other synagogues, one was Ahavat Shalom on Avenue R. That's where the Ahavat Shalom comes from.
R and where?
R. It's like there's a girls' yeshiva there now, I think. Trying to remember, because years ago in the 80s, I actually sang there when I was a student
at Ocean Avenue
college. Probably.
Yeah.
I'm not, and then there was a Beth Shalom People's Temple on Benson Avenue. That's the 3rd congregation.
Benson Avenue, yes.
Right.
I grew up over there. Yes.
Those 3 congregations came together to be part of this. And the reason why they're in the Progressive Temple building is they own the building. So that's where they are. So we have members who have been members since they were kids in this congregation. And they're, in their 80s and 90s.
That was before the neighborhood really became very like Hasidic.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's got to be very interesting now. Wow.
So they recall, the older generation from Progressive recall a very diverse neighborhood.
Yeah, now it's not.
And, and a lot of lot of my older members that live right around that area live in apartments with other neighbors who are Hasidic, and they say live very nicely together. One does the shopping for one.
Yes,
one
should
does
be.
helps.
We're all Jews.
Exactly.
We're all
very
together.
No, we're
helpful.
all neighbors.
Well,
No,
yeah.
we're all human.
Yeah.
But what does progressive mean? I mean, why are you different than us? Are you not different than us? I mean, explain to
What
me.
is the difference?
What is the difference?
What
Is
is
there-
Reform progressive?
Well, we are a member of the Union for Reform Judaism. Now, I
Right.
don't know that whether progressive itself always was, a Havat Shalom wasn't, but we're members of the Union for Reform Judaism, which I actually looked it up in Wiki because I wanted to see the numbers. It's about 37% of Jews in the country consider
it gave you a
themselves
number
members.
of the population.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, well, that's
I
my
said I should
question.
know my
One of my
numbers.
questions
So
to
it
you.
said 37% would say that they're Reform Jews. About 27% say they're Orthodox. This is countrywide. So we have many, many congregations across the country.
You
And their
recognize
memberships that together. Is there an umbrella organization?
Yes,
for you people?
that's called the Union of Reform Judaism.
Oh,
Yes.
All right.
And
but you recognize all Jews.
of course,
Now,
Klal Yisrael, of course.
Now, do you understand that a lot of the religious and Orthodox Jews do not recognize the Reform Jews or even say, hey, we don't even want to help you.
I can tell you, I went to Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion, which is the college for Reform rabbis and cantors and educators, which has 4 campuses, one in New York, one in LA, one in Cincinnati, one in Jerusalem. And one of my teachers there was Cantor Jack Mendelson, who grew up as a boy soprano in Temple Emmanuel of Borough Park. He was the teacher. Actually, do you know him? Because he has a wonderful show called The Cantor's Couch that talks about growing up in Borough Park. You should have him on. He's terrific, very funny.
You got a spot for next Tuesday.
Get him.
We have an opening next Tuesday.
He's terrific. Anyway, he was my teacher. And we, like you said you wandered into our temple one day. A lot of people come in and daven with us. And one day, 2 guys came in from, it's a funny story. One day, 2 guys came in from Temple Emmanuel Borough Park. And they came in and said, we felt like we had a daven here today. I said, fine, come in, daven. So we don't usually have the custom of, during the Torah service, of putting talasim over our heads, but these guys did. They said they used to sing in the chorus there too. If I think hard, I'd remember them names, but I can't remember. But in the middle of the Torah service, the Hagba lifts up the Torah, and one of our more unsteady elderly ladies fainted. And these 2 guys said, we knew there was a reason why we had a daven here today. Call us. So they were so excited. They didn't come back, but they were great. So we have all kinds of people coming in and davening together.
Well, it's curious, for someone that, like myself, that was basically brought up in an Orthodox manner and in a community that was, my parents moved when I was born. They moved into Borough Park, so I was, and so the synagogue is a curiosity to begin with, even just as when I was a kid, even just walking by, I knew it was different than all the other synagogues, because we weren't going in there,
Well, one day I was standing in front of the synagogue. I told Heshy this story on the phone when we were getting acquainted. And a woman from the block came over with an Orthodox woman with a lot of little girls. And she pointed, that we have a sign in front. She pointed at my name. She Cantor Suzanne Bernstein, is that you? I said, I didn't know where she was going with this. So I said, yes. She said, see, girls, women can do lots of different things in the Jewish world.
Wow.
So you never know. We just our brotherhood just got a new sukkah, a more fancy sukkah. We used to have our sukkah used to be falling down on our heads. Beautiful new sukkah. Woman from this was 2 years ago. A woman from the neighborhood came and she said, you should be here another 100 years. This is beautiful.
It is.
And,
it is.
That's great
It
to
is.
hear.
we have a little bench in front. You never know who's going to be sitting on the bench. She came out one day and the woman said, can I sit here? I said, sure. and she started to tell me her whole story, a survivor, Holocaust survivor. She's just looking for someone to talk to be with.
Do you have
That's what's
counseling?
going
Do you have
on.
counseling programs? Do you have different youth programs in your
sadly to say, Heshy, youth is where that's where we struggle.
Yeah, I feel like most of the people are the elder, more of the original people that are living
exactly.
there. Most people aren't moving in there.
I'll say that in Park Slope, Congregation Beth Elohim, which is also a member of Union for Reform Judaism, that is the fastest growing Reform synagogue in the country. In Park Slope.
Yeah.
That's on a corner somewhere.
But that's a hip neighborhood with young couples moving in.
7th Avenue, 8th
Beth
Avenue.
Emet in Kensington still has a school, but sadly we don't have a school now. I do teach, but I teach in Manhattan at another synagogue. So we don't have, like, although I have to say one of our younger people in her 20s, she's on her birthright trip right now.
Oh, my son is going on one too, and he was
now.
So, see, birthright takes everybody. Both doesn't make a difference.
I went on birthright.
Isn't that beautiful? Everybody's allowed to go.
Right.
The greatest idea.
They made.
And the Orthodox go on it.
Everyone goes.
I have to say, my own daughter, whom I have two daughters. One is 25, one is 22. My 22-year-old just got accepted by the Lab Shul for their storytelling program, where you show Torah stories through theater and action, and she got accepted by them, and she's going to be doing something with them on the holiday. She's not going to be with me. Sad, but it's great. Now she's going to be working with kids
Neil,
on the holiday.
Neil, I want to ask you a question, Neil. And I'm going to ask both of you the question. First of all, you're all listening to the Just Enough Heshy show, and I know you're all getting excited. Why am I leading the canter Getaway Easy? Because it's the first 20 minutes of the show. And I have to ask. I got some hardball. Not a hardball question. I'm going to ask you a simple question. I'm going to start with a simple one, and then we'll come after.
Well, you know what your quote is. There's a simple way of saying your quote, and you know what it is. It's the KISS theory, right? Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple. Okay.
Did you just say that? She just called me stupid.
No, I'm just saying that's what that stands for.
Oh, it's okay. You could no problem here.
In the Orthodox community, and I'm getting this question that came in on Twitter. We do not agree with the gay community at all. Zero. There's no budging, and we've had this argument over and over again on the show.
That's something we're definitely gonna have to discuss, by the way.
Right.
It's a big topic we didn't discuss yet.
What I understand, my producer's telling me, is that the reform biggest sin of their whole movement, why their whole thing is, the whole theory of the reform or reconstruction or progressive is wrong completely, is because you do allow gay marriages. You do accept, again, don't get me wrong, you accept against the Torah. You don't believe, and I've had my doubts that you don't believe in a lot of the parts of the Torah which straight out say, hey, no this, no dealing, there's no compromise. I understand.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things. I want to say there's a lot of things in the Torah that nobody agrees with.
Right, that I agree. But I want to just, if you can explain to us on what your foundation is based on. In other words, what part of the religion can we agree on, and what do you, base yours, and how do you expand on your base?
Well, let's put it this way. We read Torah every week, like everyone else. We read the same parshiot. We have Torah study for everybody every week, which is well attended in our congregation.
Do the women use the mikveh? No.
Most do not.
So when you make the marriages, it's not a required item?
No. For most, no.
Isn't that in the Torah?
No. Mikveh, no, is rabbinic. It's a rabbinic Judaism thing.
So, but again,
it's it's in halacha, but halacha was developed later during the rabbinic period. Mm-hmm. So
you're now allowed to sleep with a woman who's on a period. That's written.
now my trains got wrecked inside my brain.
Relax.
My train.
Relax.
Yeah, I
You know what?
But you're still avoiding my question on gay
No, the
marriage.
question
That's
was- I'm gonna
100%
get to
wrong.
that.
I
for a
interrupted.
second.
That's why.
But
I'm
he
sorry.
asked me something else. What are we based on?
Right.
Which is
In other words, you're
really
200
essential.
years
That's an
old.
essential question,
You're 200 years old.
At least,
Of that.
because in Germany in the mid 18th century was when reform began, and the Hebrew Union College was established in the mid 19th century here, but in Germany, reform movement began at the end. Quite, more than, I have to do the math,
So
but
maybe
more
it's
than 200, more
250
than
years,
250 years.
And why
ago.
did you have to change?
so-
What was wrong with
1 minute. I
Because
don't
people
understand that.
people felt that many people felt, and still do, that they need to. It was more important to look at Torah and understand it in a historical context, in the context of where it comes from, and to look through it and say, what would make our lives most meaningful as Jews now? And we look through it and study and think, and those things that really will make us go to a higher place, those are the things we want to put forward, like social action, like loving your neighbor as yourself, like, things, those
In other
mitzvot
words,
that are going to lift us up.
very much people to person kind
Person
of.
to person, social justice is
right.
an important part of
Right.
of our
Tikkun
feeling.
Olam, isn't that a big?
Tikkun Olam, absolutely.
I actually
very important.
I actually taught in a reform school, Sunday school,
Oh,
for 2
wow.
years when I was in college in Maryland.
Oh, wow.
Beth Shalom, maybe.
And
the
Tikkun Olam was very big there, right? That's a big
basically
part of what
Kenta,
we're telling kids.
Do you think Moses? Do you think if Moses came down from the mountain now, and he came into Borough Park and hung around, and he'd walk by your synagogue, would he come in and say, "Hey, how are you, Kenta? I want to sit down here and listen to you," or would he say, we had a rabbi here the other week. People like you will burn in hell. You have no chance. And the way he said it, that I'm going to quote right now, that you are worse than murderers.
Well, you know what I got to say? Moses, according to the Midrash, was transported from the mountain to Rabbi Akiva's room, right? And he's listening to Rabbi Akiva teach,
Right.
and he had no idea what was going on until the end, when Akiva said, "Yeah, and this I got direct from Moses on Sinai." And then Moses said, "Oh yeah, that's right." So I think he would feel at home. I think he would feel that people were taking Torah very seriously and thinking hard about what's going on.
What about
Right. In other words,
now?
because
I want to get to your one
by
thing.
the way,
I want to tell
before you go,
about
before you go, we have our special. We have to announce our beautiful Esty, who came late today because she took the F train.
No,
She took the F train.
That's probably the reason why you didn't give him the money yet, because you wanted her to see it.
Yeah,
right?
Esty.
I can tell you why.
No, before you go, I want to introduce you to the Cantor, Susan Bernstein. Suzanne,
Nice to meet you.
she's just not.
Spiritually.
By the way, she's on 16th Avenue, so she's also like 2 blocks away from your synagogue. 5th, but she lives on 16th.
Wait, maybe I've been to it. Where is it?
46th Street between 15th and 16th Avenue.
I have been. You guys, is that the one where they play piano?
Yeah.
I went in to check it out. I know you're not supposed to, according to whatever, but I was like, let me go in, and I actually thought it was really nice. Like, yeah, we don't hold this is allowed, but it was beautiful in your own way. Like, you guys were singing.
What do you mean it's not allowed? Do you think it's wrong?
Orthodox Jews don't believe that.
I'm asking you, Esty. Is
I
she
don't know.
wrong?
I honestly,
is the whole reform thing wrong?
I don't know.
You know it's wrong. The whole neighborhood says it's
honestly,
wrong.
I thought it was beautiful. Everybody in their own way. If this is what they believe, then.
But the rabbi last week said that they're worse than murderers.
You know, it's also
well, I'm sorry. By the way, I was thinking about it. Any rabbi that tells you, "Oh, if you don't keep Shabbos, you're a murderer," bam, bad rabbi.
Good
you never
for
listen.
you, Esty. Good for
What do you mean? I got screamed
who
at
said
on the
that?
street. I was
You
walking
do
down
not
the street.
teach Torah like that. That makes our
Hold
Torah
on.
look like crap.
Hold on, here's the cantor. She better be viewed because
Wait
I
a
was
minute,
being
I gotta
screamed
get
at on the
back.
streets in Borough Park.
It occurs to me, I have to get back to why I was mentioning Jackie Mendelson to you. Because when Jackie comes from Temple Emmanuel, and I went, we had somebody came in, he used to come fairly regularly, who is a member of Temple Emmanuel of Borough Park. And he said to me, come and listen for Second Day Yom Tov. It must have been Shavuot, because we follow the biblical calendar and we don't do the second day of Yontif for Shavuot. So I went over
Why is that?
because we follow 7 days, the same calendar that they follow in Israel.
So you also do one day of Passover and Sukkot also, or?
Yeah, we do the first day. Well, Pesach, yes, we do first day. We do a first day festival service, and then a
You only have
Chol
one
Moed.
Seder?
So that's an odd question actually for us, because we wind up doing the second night Seder as a community Seder to give anybody who doesn't have a place to go, they should have a place to go. So
Yeah, I
we have
never
a
knew that.
second,
So it's like a social event.
but
really.
we do a second night Seder, but we wind up doing Yizkor on the seventh day. So like I have to always tell my congregants when they get the free calendars from the funeral home, don't pay attention because we got a little different there. But anyway, I went to Temple Emmanuel for second day Yontif, which was just beautiful to hear Ben Zion Miller sing, because Jackie Mendelson that I mentioned, you got to get him on the show. He used to say, Ben Zion Miller, nobody sings like him.
Ben Zion
Oh,
Miller.
Bethel,
So-
not
Bethel,
Emmanuel.
not
I'm
Emmanuel.
wrong. You got it right.
Bethel
And-
is an Orthodox in it.
Yes. So I went up there, sat upstairs. I said, "Oh my goodness, this man is fabulous." So at the end, the gentleman who used to come to our service, he said, "I have to introduce you to Cantor Miller because he knows him." So I met him, and he said, "I know who you are. You're from 46th Street. My brother-in-law lives next door. He says, nice to meet you." And it was very sharing. It was
He's a very
But
fine.
Very
He's a
nice.
fine
But
guy.
Cantor, you are sidestepping my main question.
which is what.
Which is what?
Simple. First of all, do you believe in homosexuality?
Now I'll tell
And-
you
What do you
something.
believe
What do
in
you mean, do you
homosexuality?
It exists.
What kind of
It's-
question
She is a
that?
religious
As
leader,
part
and
of our movement, yes,
Not-
we do.
not the movement, the
Now,
Torah.
let me tell you something we did in Borough Park that may shock members of your listening audience. We may be the only place that did this. We, not this year, but in a few years before, a couple of years ago, we got a request from an Orthodox minion, gay minion. And they
I've heard of
said,
that.
can we have, it's a pride minion. They said, we're looking for a place to daven.
There's an Orthodox
So-
gay minion?
Yes.
There are
yes.
Orthodox gay. There
And
There's-
so-
and that very.
there was
So-
on
Let her
the
finish.
what's it called again? On the Sun.
Just let her finish.
One minute. There's a television station. What's it called again? The Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Channel that they had. That's how I remember the
Cassidy and the
Sundance. Right, but the
Channel.
Sundance Channel.
see that
He
one.
does it. He does it. What's his name again?
I don't watch Sundance.
Anyways, he had a whole thing on Orthodox gay community, and a lot of them are from Borough Park.
So they
Wow.
asked, so I brought it to the board. I said, what do you think? And they said, if anybody's going to host this, it's going to be us. So we made a tri-chitza in our social hall. And we had a section for people who identify as, we didn't know what to do, but they were instructing us, the people from the Pride Minion. So we had a section for people who identify as men, a section for people who identify as women, and we had a mixed seating session, which was mostly my congregants because they wanted to see an Orthodox service. So they and
Well, surely they could find one in Borough Park,
They
I think.
could, but they wanted a seat in their own.
Right, yeah, in their own
Yeah,
house.
But
In their
isn't
own
it? But
house.
Kent, isn't
So-
it wrong? Isn't it? I mean, I'm asking you right now. You forget anything else. Is homosexuality wrong? Yes.
No, these are people. These are people.
I
These
got
are
that. I'm not.
our neighbors. They're members of family.
Yeah,
and
my
no,
family
and
is
there's
sick. My
plenty of
I have
things
drug addicts,
in the
friends, and
Torah
family.
that we don't do anymore. I know there's people who still want to make a temple in Jerusalem to make all those sacrifices, but that is really a minority of the people.
That's not happening there.
Not happening, and
yeah.
so some of the things that in Torah we have to look, we have the same issues that anyone who is looking at an ancient text has. Muslims have the same problem when they look at an ancient text and they say, there's things in here that just don't work. We have the same problems that people had in ancient times. but we have to find new solutions.
So
We have
basically,
the same problems. People don't get along with each other. People fight. People don't want this. People don't want that. But we have to find
So
new
basically-
The
solutions.
human instinct has been around
so
from day one.
So
and
Neil,
Yeah.
so the way that I'm hearing it is God is wrong.
No, what you just
God made a
translate everything.
mistake. Well, I'm gonna stop.
Mm.
God gave us a command. Like I tell my son, I don't want you to run in the middle of the street. You better listen to me. Now you think that, oh, now that I could run in the middle of the street, too bad on you, Pops. I'm not gonna listen to you. Same thing with God.
I
the
don't think.
Reconstruction is
I
people's.
don't think we're saying God
I'm not
is
saying-
wrong.
what are
I
we
think
saying?
what we're
But
saying
it
is
wasn't-
the filters that have
What-
gone through that
But-
the way things have come down to.
But the Ten
us-
Commandments were given
Mm.
by Moses and God, and this is the way. And according
I
to
don't
that,
know. Does the
Hold on.
Reform believe that?
The woman,
I don't
Robert, the Reform are Jews, and they do believe that God was on the. We were at that mountain Sinai, right? We were at the mountain.
No, I mean, you're asking her.
I'm
or
asking
you're
her.
telling
I'm
her?
asking her.
Yeah,
the way
I'm
I
curious
was
too.
taught, so I don't know anything else.
So why don't you make it a question?
I'm gonna ask
then,
it-
instead of talking
Why are you
about-
interrupting me?
Because you're upsetting me how long it's taking to get to
I'm
one
sorry. I apologize.
question.
I'm sorry.
The
I'm not.
question is,
I'm asking her to teach me. I'm
that's
just a
why
dumbbell.
I asked,
I know
where-
you for 37
where is
years.
it based from?
I'm based from
Because,
simple.
and that's why I'm trying to understand.
Rabbi
it,
Mizrahi,
and that's how we can go
the way
forward by
Rabbi
understanding
Mizrahi
where you're
said-
coming from.
Rabbi Mizrahi said last week, 4 billion people on this planet believe that the ancient texts are exactly the same from the 3,000 years ago, have never been changed. We have no right to change it. And not only that, it's never been interpreted differently. The way I understand from
Okay,
the Cantor.
he is wrong, first of all.
You
There are
can
no
look at
3
it. You can
billion.
look at it any line in the Torah, and then you can go look at Rashi, you can look at Maimonides, you can look at Nachmanides. They're not going to agree with each other. They're not.
Right.
And we're having a dialogue, we're having a conversation
Right.
Well,
with all these commentators throughout the times, and we're all picking and choosing. You know, one of the great pleasures of being a cantor is working with 12-year-olds as they're developing to become a bar mitzvah. And I get a chance to look, you know, at really closely at a couple of lines of Torah with a little kid, and get this kid connected with thinkers back from time of Talmud through the Middle Ages and through modern commentary. And the kid looks and says, none of these guys agree with each other.
well,
And then you say, that's right, because you now have to form your own opinion. You have to look and say, and I had to have this one
Right.
kid,
And
and look and
but
go,
that's where
I
they run
think
into
I
a
agree with
problem.
Maimonides because he wants it to be this way. And I said, good. So then support that and say why that's what you agree with. And they learn how to reason by looking at Torah.
But
We're gonna-
and that was the
Can I-
question from there becomes, is that how we're supposed to evolve? In other words, was this book, the Bible, supposed to evolve? Or was it supposed to just sit and
I
be
think that
what
the
it is?
guys
Set in
at
stone.
Yeah.
Literally.
the rabbis at the time of the
Tablets.
Talmud would have told you absolutely it was supposed to evolve. That's why they
I
had those
agree.
big
I agree,
discussions.
and that's why I think that's why we run
But-
into an issue, because
so
it's a timeline as to when always during the time of evolving, like when Maimonides came out, they wanted to burn his books and stuff like that. Always during the time of change and evolvedness, you see there were issues, major issues,
Right,
controversy,
right,
brought out the worst of everyone. And I think you have that now, where the world basically went very right. In other words, the Jewish world, they went very right wing in as far as things that really have no basis anywhere in the Bible for whatsoever. It was just, but it was added on by one of their leaders or somebody like that. And that's what creates the turmoil, because there are people like me who are Orthodox who say, no, you're pushing the envelope. You're not here to change.
can
I'm
Neil,
sticking
we're
to
gonna,
this.
Can I add
Neil,
something?
wait a minute, before you guys do, we're going to have to pay for the show. We're going to take some.
Yes.
Esty, tell us what show is the Cantor on, because she might have gotten lost getting it because she might be on the wrong show.
Okay.
So yeah, you guys are listening to the Just Enough Heshy show. Can I explain why I'm late? No.
After you tell us, after you pay for it, we
don't have time.
You should get that.
Producer.
Okay. So yeah, this is the Just Enough Heshy Show. We are on Monday and Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. You should get us on Facebook, Twitter, hashtag Just Enough Heshy. We're live on YouTube. You can advertise or send us an email at justenoughheshy@gmail.com. Heshy spelled Heshy. Or you can call in at 718-303-9090. We have the Black Label electronic cigarettes. Yes, you can go to blpremiumesig.com or call Mikey at 561-239-5941. Sarah Shapiro Halberstam, psychotherapy and couples counseling. You can get her at sarah@mytherapist.info or 1-800-973-0323, extension 709. Mr. Clean Dry Cleaning, they do free pickup and drop off. You get 25% off if you mention the show, and you can reach Mr. Clean at mrcleandelivers@gmail.com or call him at 347-369-3051. Greenline Building Solutions. They do asbestos and lead inspection, DOB, HPD, code compliance, violations, permits, and plans, preventative maintenance. They lift stop work orders, and they give you free consultation. You can call them at 718-871-0382.
You're wonderful. Now, since the canter still hasn't run out or hit me yet, I'm happy. Because I have another tough question for I'm going to ask you. They're writing to me. Esty, can you tell me? I want to know a question. Esty has to explain to us. Why was she late? Can you tell us why were you late, Esty?
Fighting crime, I think.
Please don't tell me about your therapist story again.
I was fighting crime. I was wearing a mask, and then some people came out of me.
I am the crime fighter. I am.
Okay. So I was on 49th and 13th. I'm like, okay, I'm going to wait for the bus. Then I was like, you know what? I'm going to walk. And if the bus comes, I'll catch up. I walked all the way to the train. The bus did not come yet.
Go on for New York.
So yeah, but also like maybe I could walk faster than a bus. So then I took the train, and right when I got there, the train just left. So we had to wait 20 minutes till the train came.
I told you let me pick you up.
And then I kind of get lost on Avenue W, and I went around in a circle.
Of course you did. Esty, welcome.
But yeah, can I ask her a question?
Please,
also,
this is your show. Go ahead, Esty.
No, so I want to talk to you about the holidays, right? To me, it seems completely insane. In Israel, because I'm from America, I have to keep 2 days, but it doesn't make sense to me. The reason why they used to have that is because it was according to Israel's time, or
the reason why there's 2 days
they weren't able to tell the month or something.
Yeah. They were not able to tell the new moon.
Right.
So they used to make these watch fires to go across, and it would take 2 days. So you need an extra day.
So because of that,
but look at the time of Sage Hillel, they figured out how to do the calendar. Right. So it's like,
but what I'm saying,
for a farmer's sake, okay, so why not just follow the same? We know when it is.
I love that.
Right?
Right. So what I'm saying is today's day.
Him and Rabbi Akiva. I love them both.
On Pesach, Hillel.
What I'm saying is today's day, there is a way to tell when the moon is out. I don't get why we still keep it. It just seems ridiculous. And
so we don't.
Some things I do. By the way, when I was in Israel, I was like, okay, I'm in Israel. I know the moon, so it doesn't really matter where I live. So I didn't keep the second day.
And that's why I have a certain kinship towards any other interpretation and things like that, because I know, just like with the calendar, we know the story now.
Exactly. That's what we're doing.
What are we supposed to be idiots really and follow something we know know the answer to, but we're supposed to make believe we don't know?
There's a joke about that. I can tell you, maybe you've heard. This is an old joke. A rabbi.
He's an old man.
Yeah, he's scaring me with that electronic cigarette thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll put it down. I don't want to.
I said, what is that?
It was only made in China. You can trust it.
No, this is Florida. It was a ship through Florida.
Here's the old joke. A young rabbi goes to audition at a synagogue. They invited him. Maybe he's going to be their rabbi. And he goes in the synagogue and he sees this. People walk down the aisle to go take their seats. When they get halfway down the aisle, it looks like they're genuflecting. And he's horrified. He says, what is this, a synagogue? Why are they kneeling like that? So he goes and he asks, by the way, why are they kneeling like that? I've never seen that in a synagogue. So I don't know. He always did it that way. So he goes around and he asks every single person until he gets to the very, very, very oldest member, probably the one that's been married 70 years, like my beloved members in my congregation. He says, why do they do that? And the old member said, we used to have a chandelier. It hung very low. And in order to get under, you had to do that. And then the chandelier fell down, but everybody still did it that way.
I hear you.
We don't need to do it that way.
Oh, wait, yeah, wait. I have a story like that. I have a story like that also.
But wait a minute.
Hold on.
We have to stop.
No.
Okay.
In the olden days, right, there was this woman, she had a pot that was small. So she had a fish, and every time she would cut the end off and put it in the pan. So her daughter, even though she had a bigger pot, was like, oh, this is what we do. Exactly. They asked her, and they're like, the pot was too small. It's not like a ritual. But people followed it. It's
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
I want to ask you a question. Okay.
I have a question also.
Okay. I want to ask one more.
So, I want to say something, Esty, about the music that you heard. That really was one of the reasons why reform began in Germany in the 19th century, because people wanted to, they said, look, the temple fell in the year 70 and it's already 1820. We want to, we've been mourning for 1,700. You know what? We want to sing the praises to God and lift it up and make it even more beautiful. So you know what? We think it's time for us to do that. And that's why.
In other words, they did do that in the temple. They had music.
Exactly. They had a whole spiel. Right, the Levites had to go to music school.
So you're saying it's only not okay now, but it was okay back in the times of the temple?
Of course. It stopped when the temple fell because out of mourning. But it was more than that, really, because it was the Levites who were in charge of making the music. And the synagogue movement took over after you're talking about a time in history when things really change. And when the temple fell,
sacrifices.
Exactly.
Right.
When the temple fell, the synagogue movement became the place to go. Correct. And to make the division, since the Levites had to be trained to do that music in the temple, the synagogue said, okay, we won't do music at all, whether it's a sign of mourning or whatever. It's also to say we don't have the priests. It's to take away from the power of the priests.
Now,
which they have been trying to do from day one. There's always been.
So, Kenta, I have a serious question for you.
So do I.
The religious Jews believe in kosher food. Kosher? No. Again. Just like a gay marriage.
You're changing the subject.
I'm not changing the subject.
It's a very good question.
And I want to ask a question. We, again, have no bending, no flexibility in this, that it must be kosher. Without a question, the fish have to have scales. I came up with a question the other day. If we have lobster, if I DNA the lobster with scales and fins, does the lobster become kosher? I was told no, under no circumstances. But that's not the point. Why do the Reform and Reconstructionists and so on have a right to break the laws of Moses and not eat kosher?
Well, I can tell you that over the past since the past 50 years or more and more individual Reform Jews keep kosher, actually. And
glatt kosher?
Most.
Oh,
now, glatt is a different thing.
You don't even eat glatt kosher.
Glatt is a different thing.
I pay for it, but you don't eat it.
Because glatt, then you're having the rabbinic middleman, so you're going to like who's saying it's kosher. But in terms of kashrut, most Reform congregations, if not all, have in their temple a level of kashrut, and most individual Reform Jews think very seriously about what their relationship to kashrut is. But everybody has a choice.
Do you believe in hell?
In hell, as in like
that means if we are bad, forget punished. What happens if we cheat on our spouse?
Forget about it.
Okay? Are we going to be punished? Do the Reform movement
kosher,
not eating kosher? We
kosher?
do preach to the young people: get married, right? The Reform have marriages, whether it's gay or not. Do not cheat on your spouse. somebody's going to do something against whatever rules we have. Do they get punished? Do they go to hell? According to Rabbi Mizrahi, burn till the flesh is cooked on both sides.
Sounds delicious.
He likes his stuff well done.
Not sure. I'm just asking him. Or maybe the Reform don't believe in stuff in hell.
Why do you think people are coming to the temple to study Torah, to think seriously about these things? Because they understand that thinking about it makes life meaningful. And something like thinking about what it means to break trust in a marriage, you don't think people think seriously about that, whether they're Reform or whatever they are? Breaking trust in the marriage is something that
that's a universal issue. It's nothing to do with religion.
Exactly. It's an old problem.
But people slip. People do slip.
People do slip. And we have to think seriously about it. And when people come to shul, they're thinking about these things.
But according
on Yom Kippur,
according to the Orthodox religion, if a woman slips, she has to be killed.
Big penalty. Yeah.
Not killed.
It's not slipping. It's a major problem.
Major problem. I mean, do you forgive? Is there such a thing as forgiving for this?
Don't we believe in forgiveness?
Not for that. Not for that.
The question you were
There's
asking
3 sins that you got to die for.
More simple. We're going to keep it simple.
You know what
do you think? You're asking me? Do we not take these laws serious? Absolutely we do.
We're going to take a caller now. Steve, you got to take a caller. We can't let the cantor get away with an hour without having somebody listen to her. Push her right in front of you, Esther. I know you came late in your coloring, but
I'm going to shout out to the people from Beth Avad Shalom. They should call in and just say hi to me.
Please call in for the Temple Beth Shalom.
But there are a lot of people listening. There are a lot of people listening.
It's 718-303-9090.
And I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of questions, really, and they don't know who to ask.
Okay, this is the Just Enough Heshy show. We're on Monday and Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. You can call us at 718-303-9090.
Push number 4.
I did.
It's not working.
In other words,
I think the producer doesn't want to let us take a call.
In other words, what really happened in the old day?
Hello, you're speaking to the cantor. Who's calling?
Hi, Steve from Brooklyn. How are you?
Hello,
Steve. Our favorite.
Okay, first of all, it took me time to pick up the show tonight because it seemed I used to listen to the Just Enough Heshy show. This is the new refined Just Enough Heshy show.
Oh,
yeah.
We're on the best behavior tonight.
Wow, Neil, what did you put in this coffee this morning?
I was told to behave, and I was too hard on the other rabbi, so I'm being nice.
He's saving it for later. He doesn't want to scare her off too soon. What happened is
you're causing problems. Uncle Heshy's wife just called me to get some of those pills from Neil. To put in Uncle Heshy's coffee every day. She's like, oh my God, 30 years since the day he asked me to marry her.
I do have a funny story about that.
Is it Valium? I think Valium.
Yeah. Okay, so getting past that, I just have one question for the cantor where, first of all, Cantor, if you can just one time listen to Uncle Heshy, the real Uncle Heshy show. And second of all, you said there are some things in the Torah that nobody agrees with. So, I mean, I think we should open a lot of religions if that's the case. Everyone picks and chooses what they agree with. And based on that,
they have opened a lot of religions.
Essentially, that's what goes on. Huh?
That's basically
there's not a lot.
No, but Steve is saying if you want to be called a Jew, if you want to be called a Jew, you got to only follow the Jewish way.
No, if your mother's Jewish, you're a Jew. That's all I know.
It's not what Steve is saying.
Let him say what he wants to say. What is he saying? Say it.
It's one thing to say there's different interpretations in the Torah, as you said, Neil, more right, but medium how it was. But to say that you don't agree with certain things, so you don't agree with the Torah. The Torah is a complete package.
No.
Wait, let the cantor
answer. We not agree. Things evolve, we're saying.
Hold on. No. It's not what let the cantor answer.
That's not what I heard from the cantor. So can you please explain
it?
Let her answer.
Let me tell you, for instance, let's take something like sota. Like a man thinks his wife has committed adultery and he wants, he's worried and he's jealous. Jealousy is something that hasn't gone away. We still have that. Okay. But in the Torah that you're supposed to mix up these special waters, it's going to cause the woman's belly to distend and all that. Even Yochanan ben Zakkai said, "Don't do this." He said, "Don't do this."
But did we?
No, they didn't. He said no. people who followed Yochanan ben Zakkai don't do it. It's evolving ever since. So there are things in the Torah, and we're particularly looking at the sacrifices in the temple, because we don't have the temple. They're not, most people do not want to reestablish that, I think.
Well,
So-
anyway,
so
there's
murder- so then
we
what
have
about
an
murder?
Orthodox rabbi, excuse me, Rav Kook, who says in his book that there might not necessarily be animal sacrifices when Messiah comes. And he is ultra Orthodox. So please, there are different views out there. You just have to open your mind up a little bit.
If you look at the 5 different types of sacrifice, even in the Talmud, the rabbi said the only thing that's going to be left is Zevach Shlamim, the sacrifice of well-being, that we should all be thankful that we're even here and we're breathing. That's the only thing that really, they said, in the time to come, that's the only thing that's going to be left.
Right, and I'm sure someone argues
They
with
all
him too.
agreed that it was involved.
Okay, let's take another
you
call
know.
before the break. St, take another
Are you
call.
going to be joining us for the whole show?
I'm not letting her out.
Okay, great, because I've been busting.
She
to
can
answer
run
this
away.
question.
She can run away. Don't worry about it. If she wants to.
Steve's question actually opened up my question
Steve,
even
push
more.
another button,
I'm
please.
excited to ask.
They just fixed it.
No, so Z, ask your question.
Well, I'll wait for after. It's going to be a long
hello,
discussion.
caller. You on the air?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Hi. Shut off your radio. Shut off
we
your
hear you
radio
in the
because
back.
we only got another 2 minutes before the break.
Okay, I'm listening to the show.
Okay.
I know who this is. This is Helene, right?
Yes, it is.
Oh, Helene is a member of my congregation.
Hello,
Thanks
Helene.
for calling in.
Thanks for
Helene.
calling in, Helene.
I just wanted to say I've been watching it since the beginning. Suzanne, I think you're great, and I look forward to Torah study tomorrow.
All right.
Wonderful.
All right.
Okay, we got
Torah
1%.
study, 12 o'clock.
Thank you, Helene.
Thanks for calling in.
Thanks for calling in.
Wow.
Let's take
People
Norman.
take the
We
time
got
during the
before
day.
we get the break, we got to get Norman. Now, Norman is somebody that does not believe in God at all. So I got to have Norman attack the cantor. Go ahead, Norman. You got to go after the cantor because you go after me always. Norman, let's go.
Hi, Heshy. How are you?
Hi, fine, Norman.
Norman.
Listen, I'm going to say hello to everybody.
I'm just glad you're not attacking me this week.
Well,
it's going to be
I have
unusual.
there are things I have to say to you
Oh,
that
man.
might. Well, listen. I only say things to you to try and make you more aware of things. And then you decide. That's all. I try to open up your mind to other things.
I'm an open book, baby.
But Norman, why don't you tell the cantor that God can...
Wait, listen.
Okay.
First of all, to the cantor, I'll say this about Heshy. He's a caterpillar that will never become a butterfly. And that's very unfortunate.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm so open with the cantor. I'm being nice. I'm accepting her views.
Heshy, first of all, Cantor, I want to tell you, if you listen to a rebroadcast of last week's show, this man that's supposed to be a rabbi is belligerent. He's angry. He does not have a bit of love in him.
He was horrible.
And if you don't follow his rules, then you're the Frankenstein monster.
Right. He was telling us we don't understand. We're too little time.
No, we are ignorant, and I agree with him. Maybe we are ignorant.
I missed that show. Darn. I would have appreciated that.
He will sick the mob on you if you're the Frankenstein monster.
Norman, I'm sorry. Norman, wait, Norman. We're going to stay with you, Norman. We're not going to knock you off the air. We are going to commercial break, so I've got to do my mid-show quote, and you're going to stay with us, Cantor, because Norman's going to give me a piece of his mind. And I want to break with this quote, ladies and gentlemen. Perseverance, because for some reason the Cantor has a lot of perseverance staying with you. If you wish to succeed in life, make perseverance your bosom friend. Experience your wise counselor, somebody like Uncle Heshy. Caution your elder brother, and hope your guardian genius. Uncle Heshy. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. We'll be right back after station with the Cantor, with Neil, with Esti, and even with Z, who just ran out of the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We're back on with the Cantor.
5 minutes.
Well, I'm giving you 5 minutes. I'm not penny pinching. Every minute counts. Esty, now that we're back in the show, and we're going to have Norman back on. Norman better say something about God here, because the Cantor was telling us that she is an observant Jew, and she's going to explain that to us in a minute. But everybody, welcome back to the show, and we're going to tell you that if you want to call into the show, it's 718-303-9090, and we do have a couple of advertisers who are paying for the show. Esty, who's paying for this show?
We have the Black Label electronic cigarettes. You can go to blpremiumesig.com or call Mikey at 561-239-5941. We have Mr. Clean dry
Better
cleaning.
not to smoke.
So yeah. They do free pickup and drop off. They if you mention the Just Enough Heshy show, you can get 25% off.
Better not to get your things dirty.
You can get him at mrcleandelivers@gmail.com or call him at 347-369-3051. Green Line Building Solutions, they do asbestos and lead inspection, DOB, HPD, code compliance, violations, permits, and plans. Preventative maintenance, they lift stop work orders, and they give you a free consultation. You can call them at 718-871-0382. Again, this is the Just Enough Heshy Show. We're on Monday and Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. You can get us on Facebook or Twitter, just hashtag Just Enough Heshy. We are live on YouTube, so you can see our hand gestures. Or you can email us at justenoughheshy@gmail.com. Heshy spelled Heshy. And you can call in at 718-303-9090.
Now, Cantor, during the break, I got a couple of Twitter things that I'm looking at, and people are screaming at me on the Twitter stating, listen, the Cantor is 100% wrong. That I'll tell you very simple. They're saying, and I'm going to quote it for you, that it's horrible that she says that the mikveh is not a requirement by the women. It's horrible that women are even allowed to lead a congregation. And wait a minute, even though there was women leaders that we've been told through time, even women judges, if I'm correct. Not Miriam, later Dina or so, whatever. And also, and most importantly, that the reform movement. But what's the word exactly? That they have a right not to observe Shabbos.
Well, they observe it in their way.
What do you mean observe it in their way?
Interpretation.
What do you mean interpretation? They're stating, according to the people on Twitter, that
why in your Bible it says you can't open the light or close the light?
You can't light a match.
Does it say you cannot open or close a light?
It says very simple.
Does it say you
that
cannot turn on your
if you desecrate the Shabbos in any way whatsoever, you will be killed.
And who decided that?
God.
Okay. No, who decided what
it means?
Right.
That's the problem.
Moses.
No.
The rabbi last week explained to us
you're not supposed to work.
But Cantor, the rabbi explained.
If I have a congregant who wants to come to shul because they want to say yahrzeit, or they want to be with people, or they want to pray, and they want to come, and even these people, even my people who live just a couple of blocks away who used to walk to shul, who can't anymore because they're elderly, you're going to tell them they can't get in a car to come around? I think that's not being open
according
to them
according to the laws,
according
to the rabbi according to Orthodox,
right.
according to the Orthodox movement, which is the only right movement according to a lot of these people.
Wow.
Wait a minute, that if you break any of these rules, too bad on you. For example, in my synagogue where I pray in Svadish Shul on the corner of 14th and 45th, we used to have a minyan. A prayer thing on Saturday morning at 6:30 in the morning. I do not attend that one purposely for this reason. They say that the people in the early 1900s, when America came, a lot of the Jews came to America, they had to work on the Sabbath. If they would have worked, because otherwise they would have lost their jobs that week. And they lost their jobs. So these people came to shul for Saturday morning, and they used to cry and cry. And people say they cried. Why? Because they knew they had to go to work. The question is simple. God put you on this earth to suffer. God put you. Wait. Let me finish. Let me finish. God wants you to repent. God wants you to serve Him. You're entitled to nothing. And if you do not follow God's 10 commandments, you will burn. And according to my partner, Penny,
never become a rabbi, like ever.
Hold on, Penny. Not only that, you won't even be allowed to even pass the holy, what's it called? The courts, the heavenly courts, to be allowed into heaven if you break any of these rules, even a little bit.
Right.
I'm not, again,
All
Kathy,
right.
I'm telling you what other people have been telling me.
Right,
I am
I
not smart.
understand.
So
Fire
I need
and
you to,
brimstone. Like
I
who
understand what
still
you're
talks
saying,
like that? This is like
but
20 years
You know,
ago.
that's all
is-
Christianity, by the way.
why? Christianity started from
Christianity
Judaism.
believes in all of this.
the details of Shabbos observance have evolved over time, and they're still evolving. And for you asked me in the break, because I said I told you I was worried that your first question was going to be to me, because I watched a few shows where people said, you said the first question was, are you religious? Which you interpret as meaning Orthodox.
Correct.
So I
Right.
thought, well, if he says to me, are you religious? I'm going to answer yes. And then you'll be shocked. So I don't know. And then you'll say, what do you mean by that?
Well, you know
I said,
what?
I am an observant Reformed Jew. I take my Judaism very seriously. We study, we think, we make our decisions about how, and just let's be honest, every Jew does that. They have to choose how they're going to be observant.
Well, you know what? All of these questions
Unless
and answers.
maybe they just have a rabbi tell them exactly what to do, and they
Right.
follow it just without
That's
question.
a new thing.
Well,
that's a
Then
new thing.
they follow without question. That's
all
right for some people.
all
of
But
these
for
questions-
most people, they want to think
Let's
about what
you
they're
know, we
doing,
knocked
and
off
they want
Norman.
it to be meaningful to them.
Well, let's take a caller. Let's take.
Can I
Okay.
just say one thing?
Go ahead,
We're
Z.
waiting,
We're waiting
but
for you,
then
Z.
we tell you to talk, and then you say
Right.
no.
Yeah,
Wait.
go ahead,
I-
Z.
All of these questions and answers are basically leading back to the same point, where you're saying how things are open to interpretation. They've evolved because, technically we're not allowed to violate Shabbos, but what exactly is Shabbos? It's open to interpretation. There's a lot of loose ends, and I agree with that. However, and again, it's going to sound a little bit off topic because I wanted to ask this 20 minutes ago. There's only one place in the entire Torah where it says the words disgusting or despicable, and it says straight up in the Torah that a man sleeping with another man, this is disgusting or despicable, however you translate it, to me. So I'm trying to understand how there's any room for any interpretation evolving, and there's no, well, Shabbos is this, you could decide this way. How do you reconcile the fact that it literally says those words, a man sleeping with another man is despicable to me? There, you said some rabbis argue about different points. There's never been any arguments, any Rashi versus nobody, no rabbi.
With any religion, not just
What the hell are you doing?
with any religion, not just
No rabbi has ever had any sort of discussion or conversation
Alright.
about how to translate it or how to maybe it means
Okay,
something
let
else.
the Cantor go
It
because
says
let's
it
hear.
Let's
a
hear.
blatant statement.
Go
It
ahead,
is
Cantor.
disgusting and despicable. So how do you reconcile that?
And when you're
What
done,
I'm
I'll
trying to
go.
say is, I think we've gone
waste of
beyond
time.
that
What?
line, and I'm thinking about a person that I heard recently. Actually, I probably better not to tell this story. I'm just trying to figure out how to phrase this. But
No, I mean this with 100% respect. I'm just curious.
How
How?
much that line has hurt deeply human beings.
But God said it. And if you don't believe that God said it, you don't believe in the Torah being from God for Moses. You can't have it both ways. I don't speak for God. I'm just saying.
In general, from the reform or progressive perspective, the Torah is divinely inspired, but did it come down
So
on
but that's not what we just said.
Oh,
So
wait a
now you're tripping
It's
yourself
hard
up.
to
No.
say.
She's saying maybe it's not.
And and where it comes from and where it was developed and different pieces of it
Fine.
come from different
But why were those
traditions,
words
and not
only
everything
used?
in the Torah is
Fine.
uplifting.
But
Let's take another caller.
Why
Not
were only
everything
those
in the
words?
Torah is going to
Okay.
get
We're going to take a caller.
the higher place that we're.
I
the whole
agree
By the
with
way,
you.
Cantor, your parents, were they Reform as well?
Interestingly enough, my father grew up Orthodox. And when he when he was drafted into World War II, he was only 19. He didn't want to be Orthodox anymore. He didn't want anything to do with religion. That generation of my parents and people born my father was born in 1921, my mother 1919. My mother was raised by a single mother, 3 girls, and she had basically her mother came from Romania. She didn't have a religious education. And so when they established their home, they really didn't make a Jewish home much at all, other than, I mean, I don't remember much of anything growing up. We had a Hanukkah, we had a menorah, but we didn't have anything like Shabbos, anything like that. And then when I was a kid, when I was about 12, I said to my mother, I want to go to Hebrew school. And she said, yeah, your sister didn't like it, so you don't have to go.
Wow.
I said, I would like to go, but no. And then I did not really, I went into, I was a singer first. I used to sing at the New York City Opera in the chorus.
Wow.
And I did a lot of freelance singing, but I always was interested. And I sang in different synagogues in the quartet. I used to sing in progressive Sherry Tzedek, which was like Ocean Avenue, I think.
Mhm.
And I spoke with a rabbi. She said, you know, you really should consider I was already in my 30s. She said, go get the Jewish education you never had.
Well, we're going to take some calls. I'm going to have to ask you a favor later on in the show. I want you to sing a little bit if you can.
About you.
About you. Caller on line 2. Talk to us.
Get back to that
No, we got to take some callers. We got some people are very upset with me right now. And you know what? So far, no caller has proved their point to me that the cantor is wrong in any way. Say something.
I want to continue our discussion.
I don't want you to caller on 2. What do you got to say? Who are you? Hello.
Is it me you're speaking to?
Yes, it is. I'm sorry we kept you so long.
I don't know what number I am.
Okay, well, you're calling now.
This is Charlotte.
Okay, I'm Charlotte. Look at that. You know who I am. I'm a congregant of Cantor Bernstein, and I've been listening to this with great fascination. And I hope that she will be permitted to speak and make her point. You keep interrupting her.
Oh,
he does it to everybody. Don't worry.
Oh, I understand. You're equal opportunity interrupter.
That's right. We only got 2 hours, and we got to be able to answer questions. And my point is that she has to teach me and she has to educate me because I don't know better.
Then come to services and be educated.
I thought, very good.
Or to Bible study class.
Charlotte, I have a question for you. Were your parents Orthodox or Reform?
My mother was Orthodox, my father was Reform, and my education was very limited. I became interested in my religion when I became a mother, and I wanted my children to have a religious education.
Do you have any sons?
I have 2 daughters.
Uh-huh.
No sons. But I wanted my daughters to have a religious education. And when I looked around and I tried different things, I found that the Reform movement made the most sense to me because I could understand it.
Have you ever tried it, Orthodox?
Yeah, I certainly did. And I understood nothing, and nobody was interested in teaching me anything.
Wow.
Because that's what years ago. Today they're dying.
Charlotte, thank you for your call, Charlotte.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure listening to you.
Thanks for calling.
Great. And keep listening to us from now on. Take another caller, Esty. Go ahead. Caller.
These are my people.
I got that. They're defending you. I don't know. I thought people are going to scream at me. So far, I'm having a good time over here. Take a caller. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Oh, Heshy?
Yes. Mitch, how are you?
How you doing? Everybody? First of all, I wanted to say hi to Cantor, and it's obviously very beautiful what you do on a weekly basis. I can tell you that any type of cantorial music that I grew up in my home, I used to have my father, God rest his soul, used to have all the Chazan records and all the old Yiddish stuff like Oz and Moshe and things like that. So I certainly love cantorial music. The one thing I do have a problem with the reform movement more than you yourself is this. One, and this is a non-negotiable thing as far as I'm concerned, originally, not now, but originally, Cantor, the reform movement, specifically Union College, the college which is the
Hebrew Union College, yeah. I'm a graduate of Hebrew Union.
Right, exactly. But originally, I'm talking many, many years ago, they were not big fans of originally of the state of Israel.
That's
and that
true.
Is true.
That is very true.
That is very true.
That is true.
When I was a kid, my father, who was extremely open to everything. That is one thing that he didn't like when I was a kid, and he would talk to me about it often.
But it's totally changed now. I mean,
thank God now
hugely changed.
A lot of reformed people are with us, and they're certainly
absolutely. American Reforms, American Association of Reform
Thank you, Mitch.
Zionists of
Thank you, Mitch, for the
America
call.
Thanks,
is
Mitch.
a very strong organization that really supports wonderful things
And
in
they
Israel.
do support Israel a lot?
Absolutely, we do. Absolutely, we do. Our congregation did a trip to Israel last June, just a year ago. I was in Israel, and with Charlotte was with me, by the way.
Okay.
That was there. She was with me.
Did you go to any of the holy rabbis' graves?
Not this time, did we? Not this time. The last time we went to Maimonides, we went to Rabbi Meir Balhanes.
Wow, that's
but
it.
we were at the wall with the women of the wall for Rosh Chodesh this year.
But you separated over there. You accepted that? You accepted not having a mixed thing over there?
We were praying with the women of the wall with a tiny Torah. That was before they brought in the big Torah. But it was a very interesting experience, because when we first came out, first there was a woman who came around with a whistle, was trying to prevent us from having the service, and the Shomrim took her on the side, and then we continued. And when we got up to the Torah service, this was on Rosh Chodesh, early in the morning for Tammuz, it was last year, and another woman dressed the same way with a whole thing around her head and everything coming up. We thought, uh-oh, here she goes again. She's going to pull out a whistle. And when they took out the little Torah, this woman started yelling in Hebrew, why do you have a little Torah? You should have a big Torah.
Wow.
Same as the men. You should have the same.
Rabbi, Cantor, what do you think of...
your friends are.
Cantor, what do you think of I know you have women rabbis. What do you think of Orthodox women rabbi?
Yes, I've met Sarah Hurwitz, the first rabbah from, in fact,
Is that Rabbi Weiss? From
Rabbi Weiss, yes.
And is she really Orthodox?
Yeah.
Yes. And I met...
And does she
believe in standards?
And does she believe in the Reform movement?
I can call myself whatever I want.
My first, when I was a cantorial student at Hebrew Union College, and this is in these many years ago, my first rabbi that I was with as a student cantor was Sally Presand, who was the first rabbi ordained by Hebrew Union College in the modern era, 1972. So we think we were probably the first two-woman clergy team. Back in 82, 83 in Monmouth Reformed Temple in New Jersey. And when Rabbi Presand celebrated her 40th anniversary as a rabbi, that would have been 2012, she invited the first rabbis from each movement.
Oh.
So Sandy Sasso from the Reconstructionists, and Amy Eisenberg, I hope I have her name right, from the Conservative, and the rabbi from Avi Weiss was there also, and they had a beautiful conference, and they all spoke about their roles and what they do. Yes, beautiful.
Let's take another call. We got a lot of people to go through. Let's go, Esty. Push a button. Somebody's got to push a button. Let's take line 3. Come on. Oh, line 5 is fine. Hello, caller. You're on the air with the Cantor.
Hello.
Hello. Turn your radio off. Go ahead.
Hi, it's Diane.
Hello, Diane. Your radio. You got to make it.
I'm walking away.
Okay, Diane.
It's Diane. I know. Hi, Diane.
Hi, darling. I am so proud of you.
First question, Diane.
How is Lester feeling? Wait,
he's better.
He's
better. It's a cold.
Okay.
That's
and
good.
He saw the doctor, and he's wonderful.
I tell you about Diane and Lester Heshy. They just came back from France. Lester was... Diane, you got to turn your radio off.
Okay.
So they went to Normandy. You want to tell the story, Diane?
Yes, we went to Normandy. And my husband, who is the sweetest man in the whole world, and he was so moved by the wreath laying ceremony that he was like beyond himself. They were so caring and so wonderful. And I'm sorry to say that we have learned nothing. We keep fighting, we keep losing our young people, and that's a sin. Where is God at this point?
Diane, your parents, were they Reform or Orthodox?
No, my father was Orthodox. My mother was a communist. And you never
That's not
saw
a religion.
To her is my problem.
and you never saw a happier marriage other than Les's and mine.
Beautiful.
They do
Thank
have
you,
a
Diane.
wonderful,
Diane,
wonderful
that was
Yes.
nice. Thank you.
And these are very caring people. You know what? My congregants, they go out of their way to help each other, help everybody, to go, to call, to be, to take.
That's the way it should be.
Yes.
That's the way it should. Let's take another call, everybody. Let's take line 3. Push the button. Hello, you're on the air with D. Cantor and Uncle Heshy and the crew.
Yeah, hi, Heshy. How are you?
Hello, Steve. How are you?
Oh, Steve.
Good. I wanted to ask the Cantor a question. If you went to a doctor who smoked and he told you you shouldn't smoke, it's not good for you, would you listen to that doctor?
I don't smoke, so I would agree with him. That's for sure.
If you went to a doctor that smoked, would you have confidence in that doctor that smoked who told you that not to smoke?
I'm suspecting some kind of trick question.
Go
here.
ahead, Steve. Get the
Steve.
question over with, Steve. Go get her.
It's not a trick question. It's basically a question to deal with. If you, as a rabbi, are not obligated, according to the Torah, to do certain rituals and certain laws, how could you represent the congregation in that capacity if you yourself do not have that obligation?
Okay,
That's a good
interesting question.
yeah.
I don't find it interesting at all.
Well, what he's
Why
saying
not?
is
Well,
what's so
I know what
interesting?
he's saying if a woman is not bound to certain mitzvot, we don't actually look at halakha the same way you're looking at it, because we don't feel actually, as Reform Jews, look at all of halakha, both men and women, and make decisions based on what's going to bring them to transform their lives, make their lives meaningful, make their lives more meaningful. When I know some places have girls become bat mitzvah at age 12. We do everybody at age 13. We make it equal together. Girls can study and read from Torah, same as guys.
So do you believe?
We and you know, lots of times people come, they call our Reform congregation. They call up Reform congregations. Get this all over. They say, "Oh, my child is 12 and a half, and I'd like to bring him for a bar mitzvah. And since I didn't do anything, we figure Reform doesn't do much." So that's, it's kind of not actually true. We really require that students have at least 3 years of training before the bar mitzvah. We actually people would be surprised at the requirements of meaning, of depth that we want to encourage our young people and our families and all our members to have. We want everybody to be a congregation of learners. Remember Charlotte, when she called in, she said, because nobody wanted to explain to her.
Right.
That's what we do all the time, trying to figure out, what does this mean to us? What is it going to make? How are we going to make this real? How are we going to make it part of our lives in a way where we understand it? Where, for instance, we just we're gonna have to take 1 minute.
We're gonna have to do commercials right now.
No.
We're going to go back. I got to do one more group of commercials. I got to do it, Neil. Wow.
Okay.
Neil's paying for the show next week.
That's right. But we're gonna get back to the Cantor. I'm gonna ask the Cantor a very serious question about Kohanim. If the women are allowed to be priests in the Jewish religion, we're gonna get to you in a minute. I know there are, but Esty, talk to me before we go to our final last half hour. Tell us, Esty, about this beautiful Just Enough Heshy show while everybody's screaming it. Go ahead.
So yes, you're listening to the Just Enough Heshy show. We're on Monday and Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. We have the Black Label electronic cigarettes. You can go to blpremiumesig.com or call Mikey at 561-239-5941. You can call Sarah Shapiro Halberstein. She does psychotherapy and couples counseling. You can go to Sarah at mytherapist.info or call her at 1-800-973-0323, extension 709. We have Green Line Building Solutions. They do asbestos and lead inspection, DOB, HPD, code compliance, violations, permits, and plans, preventative maintenance. They lift stop work orders, and they do free consultation. You can reach them at 718-871-0382. You can also this is the Just Enough Heshy Show. You can get us on Facebook, hashtag Twitter, Just Enough Heshy, Heshy spelled Heshy. We're live on YouTube, and you can advertise with us at justenoughheshy@gmail.com. You can also call in at 718-303-9090.
You're all listening to the Just Enough Heshy Show with the Cantor, with Neil, with Z, and of course, my producer sent me a terrible text over here. I'm not going to even repeat it on air. He was screaming at me over there, but we're going to. So, woman, you're telling.
I have a question for you, Heshy. Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Just one?
No. This is totally off topic. The person who's advertising as the sex therapist, was that the woman who was on your show?
Yes.
Yeah,
She's a very
ago.
classy person.
Very classy.
And doing good work.
She lives in Borough Park.
And doing good work. So, this is
I don't think Borough Park. She lives in
the neighborhood.
making people
She doesn't
have
live in
Do you teach?
have better lives.
Right.
That's
So
what
the
that
Orthodox
woman's doing.
community has a
And
problem.
that-
Does the Reform community teach sex education? Teach the children to be careful of child molesters? Do you educate your children on drugs and so on, or do you also forget about it and are very scared of these topics?
I think we try now. That's a very big question. And I think what we try to do with our youth engagement in the reform movement is make people really feel connected to Judaism in any way, in many different ways. We have a very big camping movement in the Union for Reform Judaism, a lot of Jewish camps where kids go and learn, they be together, they worship together, have services. I have a lot of my students who are going to summer camp for part of the URJ. We even have a science summer camp now because we said, a lot of kids don't want to just go to a sports camp. They want other things.
Right.
We have camps all across. We have a youth program where they go to Israel. We have a lot of ways to engage. And what we try to do is make sure, for many years, all through the 20th century, the reform movement was more imitative of what they remembered from Germany from back in the 19th century. They would have confirmation. And after instead of having bar mitzvah for many years, they had something called confirmation, which sounds kind of Christian, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And so when the Eastern European Jews started coming to United States at the beginning of the 20th century, they still wanted bar mitzvah. So we wound up having both bar and bat mitzvah and confirmation. But, it's hard to keep kids interested after age 13. It's hard to keep the parents and the families there. And so we've expanded it to try to engage them in all different ways. I have students who go, we have programs. This is my larger congregation in Manhattan where I also teach. And they take kids on social action tours. I went with my daughter after Katrina with a whole group of kids to
New Orleans.
Wow.
to New Orleans.
Did the Orthodox Jews do that, Neil?
A lot of
I
people
personally
do
didn't
lots
know.
of good work.
It's Tikkun
lots
Olam,
of
that's their
people are
thing.
doing lots of good work. I have a kid that I've had I specialize in the city with children with special needs.
Wow.
And I have a kid who's been working with me since he was in 3rd grade, so I know him very well. And he has all kind, he's coming along. His bar mitzvah's next April.
Wow.
Yay for Bryce.
Good.
And he went with his mother and the whole shul. They went to Memphis to go on the civil rights path to understand what it means for people to fight for their rights.
So, Kanta, I have a 2-part question for you. And this is going to be my last question because I want the people to ask you a question. This is going to be a rough one for you.
Uh-oh.
And I've been asking this to everybody.
Oh, man.
One, do you guys believe in the Brit Milah? Number one. Wait. And part 2 is, why did God screw us with the Holocaust? Do you believe that God because everybody says there's a God, he had a right to kill 6 million of our brothers and sisters. Did he do wrong according to the Reform movement? Is God responsible for breaking his deal? Was he in breach of contract? Do we forgive him, or don't we just not? Or we're going to go with the Orthodox answers? We don't understand, and God is right.
Let's talk about Brit Milah first. And it's funny, it's interesting. Brit Milah, I had 2 girls, and I was so relieved because I thought, oh my goodness. But Brit Milah is something that continues. One change that we've made in the Reform movement, because how so many people, they get nervous, they want to go to the hospital, they don't want to have a moil. So we have a training program at Hebrew Union College to train physicians to be moilim.
Women too?
Women and men, so that they understand what the brachot are and the whole procedure, so that a family can be comfortable to say, okay, I am going to a doctor to do the Brit Milah, but the doctor is a trained moil in all the appropriate brachot. So that's a change that we have made.
But there's parts of it that they don't do when they do it at a doctor.
I want to hear part 2 of my question.
Well,
yeah.
Oh, you want to hear?
Well, what do you believe? You believe that God screwed us in the Holocaust? That's your philosophy?
I believe that God cheated us, and I believe that the answer of what nobody's given me an answer that has satisfied. I'm gonna. He asked me a question. I'm gonna ask him. I want the cantor to give me.
I'm not a rabbi.
Not a rabbi.
I'm a cantor, but
and she is educated.
But I know, and a lot. I have to say, it's sometimes it's very touching for me when I go to visit members and they call me rabbi, and I say, I'm not a rabbi, and they say, to me, you're my rabbi. I feel guilty. So don't.
Well, a rabbi is a spiritual leader, no?
Don't let me say I'm a rabbi, and then I'll get sued and say I'm putting myself off as a rabbi. But anyway,
the cantor told me she went to the jails. She went to jails to visit people there too and help people out there. Yeah. So she's done a lot.
What's the difference between a rabbi and a spiritual leader?
Not much.
So
the bottom line. But let me, look, that's a question that many better minds than I have tried to answer.
Well, the Holocaust, you mean?
You can read it, Elie Wiesel, all that. I have only one thing to say about it. My Uncle Sharney, his name was Alex. He was an Auschwitz survivor. He's no longer with us, sadly. He made the best bread you could ever eat. And his kids didn't want to learn how to make the rye bread from Hungary the way he made it. That was a shanda. But anyway, Uncle Sharney, when he died, his daughter made the eulogy. And she said, all the years, my father only said one thing about being in Auschwitz. The only thing he would ever say was he was with a detail of young men around age 15, and they had to go to work in a mine before the sun would come up. And they had to work all the day, and they would come way back to the barracks in the camp way after the sun went down. And he said every night the guard that was watching them, at a certain time he would sort of look at his watch, the German, and he would say, I think the sun is going down. I'm going to take a stroll. And he would go out and leave them for a half an hour so that they could daven.
I never heard that story before.
That is the only thing my uncle would say about it. He said, even there.
I never heard that story before.
Even there, in the worst possible hell, there were people who could do the right thing.
What is the right thing? They believe in God after such a thing?
No,
you're talking about the soldier, the guard.
The soldier used to leave them so they could pray.
So they could pray, because he
Why
knew.
Don't you listen?
And so the point is, and Leo Beck said this much better than I would, the point is, even in the worst place, there was a way to get a sense that things come from God, can be better, can be transformed, that we can live better lives because we can connect.
But why did it happen?
Why it happened? There, people do terrible things. People do.
I don't understand.
How is she supposed to know the answer to that?
Why the Jews? Why aren't we? No.
How is she supposed to know the answer
We are
to
the
this?
chosen people. God is we are the greatest religion on the planet. That's what
You know what?
How could God screw us like
We've been.
this?
How could God screw us with slavery? How could God screw us with this one, with that one? We've been persecuted since the beginning of time.
So why should I go?
This isn't the first time that Jews have been persecuted.
Why should I go to shul? Why should I even go to Reform synagogue? I'm asking her a question. She's asking me to come to shul. She's asking me to
you're
daven.
asking about the Holocaust. Why? You want God's reason why.
She knows better than me.
I don't know God's reason why he does anything in this world, quite frankly.
So you're back to the Orthodox answer.
Anybody really
so you're back to the answer.
It's not Orthodox, it's logic. How are we supposed to know?
How do you have any proof there is a God? I mean, what are you talking about?
Did you just hear that, Cantor? Did you just hear this?
Like, what is he looking for? He's looking for something that's so high in the sky that
so Cantor, how do you have any proof there's a God?
Intellectually.
We don't.
I'm asking the Cantor, is there a God?
Is there meaning in your life? You have a lot of meaning in your life because you do good things.
Right.
You do good things. You help a lot of people.
He really does.
You're trying to, and why you could blow it all off and you could move to Coral. You told me
Coral Springs. That's where I'm going, Florida.
I knew you liked it.
I do. Everybody,
right?
Smoking your.
That's right. That's right. I love
your sponsor's cigarettes.
That's right.
You could sit smoking them. But you don't because something is compelling you to help people, to teach people. Something is compelling you.
Not God. Not God.
I don't know. I think it is. But that's my perspective.
You're going so high.
How is she supposed to know what God's thinking?
I'm sorry. I want to take another caller. Let's push the button.
I was always taught.
She's a human being.
She's
not coming in like some other people came in and they thought they were above us.
Yeah.
She's coming in like one of us and saying, hey, we're exploring together. We're going forward. We're trying what we
I'll tell you what I was always taught.
So Jewish religion is an exploratory.
Sure, for the time. For the times.
That's not according to.
In other words, I don't want to now learn about the laws of riding a camel. Or something.
How do you explain any suffering that the Jews have?
I don't. I'm very upset.
Really?
Very
upset. When I was in elementary school, that was the first question everybody used to ask. Oh, if we're Jews and we're good, how come bad things happen to us? And it's very simple.
What was the answer?
You probably know that nothing, because God basically, we believe that there's an afterlife and we believe that there's punishment after death, and many times things happen in this world.
Answer that question.
Many things happen in this world to prevent us from suffering later, and that's what I was always taught growing up.
Do you believe? One of the things that is repeated so many times in the Torah is always remember, be kind, or understand the situation of the stranger, because you were strangers in Egypt.
Yes.
You were slaves in Egypt.
Yeah, look how far back we suffered. 5,000 years right there.
Do you see that the suffering has made us a more compassionate people, and people who will do tikkun olam, because
absolutely, because we know what it's like to be downtrodden. And that's why we align many times with minorities and other things. 100%.
So without that suffering, we would not. Now, I would not say I could.
But that's not a good reason. That's not a good reason, though.
Certainly do without the Holocaust.
Right.
I'm sure my Uncle Sharni did not want to be where he was. I'm sure, but still, there's going to be suffering in this world. What are you going to do with it? Is it going to make you open your eyes and be better to other people, or is it not?
Oh, and that's why we got two important callers. So line one, and then we're going to take a surprise caller for line three. Line one, go ahead. Who's you're on the air with Kenta?
Hi, is that me?
That's you.
You're number one.
Hi, it's Fran, and I am a member of the Cantor's Temple. And Heshy, I would love you to join us one Tuesday for our class.
You know what, Fran, thanks for calling. And I have to say, Heshy, I already asked him if he would come and talk to our brotherhood and the women of PTBS on a Sunday and talk to them about what he does. And he already said yes.
I would come with pleasure. Me and Neil. And Neil is going to. Look how I got my side. You're my boy. You're my sidekick, Neil. Fran, thank you for calling into the show. And thank you for listening to our show. I hope you're being entertained a little bit tonight. And we're not torturing the Cantor too much.
No, I'm enjoying it.
Thank you so much.
And
Thank you,
he's
Fran.
doing very well.
Well,
Lift
thank
that
you,
up.
Fran.
Thank you,
And
Fran.
that means a lot coming from Fran.
Okay, let's take our favorite guy, the guy who took over for me and Neil last week. Ralph, where are you, Ralph? Ralph, I love you.
Ralph.
You know, I sent you text messages, Ralph. You never reply. I love you.
What? Heshy, I reply all the time.
I know you do. I know. I'm just making that up.
You know the feeling's mutual. And hello, Cantor. Hello, everyone. It's great to talk to you. I'm sitting here just listening to the last 10 minutes, and I was raised Catholic. I'm not of your persuasion, but I will ask you this: when you see, and I hate to bring up bad news, but we've been kind of bombarded with bad news for the last couple of weeks. That atrocity that went down in down south in South Carolina when that unhinged guy went in there and it killed 9 people. How do you go about talking about that, Cantor? Because I know that must come up during the course of, I don't know, service or whatever the case may be. How do you explain the hatred that one human being must possess to do something so heinous? How do you situate that? How do you feel? Where's God's place in something like that? Where was, in other words, I'll ask this.
Well, that's what he was just asking about the Holocaust, and suffering isn't necessarily.
No, he's bringing up now.
No, but
he's asking the Cantor, how do you make peace?
How do bad things happen to good people?
In other words,
where was God for that?
Where was God for protection when those poor folks needed it?
Yeah,
simply put.
But that's what he just asked about the Holocaust. The same question: how bad things happen to
I
good people.
didn't hear the call, so you let her answer.
Yeah, it was a terrible thing, and when I say now I'm speechless. Sometimes when these things happen, and I know I got to address it, just like you're saying, it's got to be addressed because people want to think about it and people want to make sense of it. And I get very grateful for being part of the Union for Reform Judaism because right away, better minds than I are writing things and thinking about things. And there was a beautiful prayer by a man whose last name is Solevi. I'm trying to remember his first name. And he wrote a beautiful prayer that we could offer. Prayers are just words, but to try to make sense of something that's really senseless.
Right.
One of the things he brought into that prayer was the fact that pretty much at the same time as that terrible shooting was happening, there was a desecration of a church in Israel called the Church of the Transfiguration of Fishes or something.
Yeah. And they said that it was Jewish settlers did it.
And
that's what they said.
Right-wing Jewish settlers not only burnt the church, but they wrote on the wall words from one of our sacred prayers, words from the Aleinu, our prayer that we say at the end of every service that says, if you use a certain form of it, it says that there shouldn't be any idolatry. And the settlers took that word, no idolatry, and they smeared it on the walls. They put graffiti. And to take a holy prayer and use it as an excuse to burn a person's
Didn't that church
worship.
have like some significance also for them? I don't know the story.
For Christians,
right.
It's the place where Jesus transformed the one fish into many, or
that's a big one.
Yeah, it was the turn the stones into fish and and all that type of thing.
And so what we thought about in our congregation, and it was the kind of what we asked your question, and because we don't have the answer, but we asked your question, what can we find about this hatred that we can participate? How can we also help to stop this hatred all over, so that everyone can worship? This should never happen to anybody. Anybody who wants to be able to worship or find out about their tradition, whatever their tradition is, they should be able to do it in peace. And we did talk about it, and we addressed it. So, but an answer is hard. If you want my personal answer, I think that the gun laws in this country are really not.
Thank you. I want to stop guns all over the world. Ralph?
Here's the thing that struck me about it. I brought it up on the program, and this is to their credit. They
came
no
together.
No sooner did this incident happen down there, that those people gathered in forgiveness of this lunatic that went in and did this.
I was very impressed.
And I had mentioned that on the program and said, if it had to be me, I want to rip his tongue out.
Right.
But that's just I think in some sense, to not feel that anger, to kind of remove that anger and just feel that, and it may be a false forgiveness at that juncture, because you're talking about directly after something horrific happened. I felt that was a little bit strange and even unhealthy, and I questioned that.
Do you think maybe it was lip service, Ralph?
Anger.
You think maybe it was a little bit of a lip service?
Yeah, I mean, Z, I think I'm thinking that for public relations, and I'm not saying that the will wasn't behind it, but just to make everything look nicey.
Yeah. Hey, Ralph. Nicey, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I mean, I want to see you again. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you've been avoiding me.
By the way, Ralph, Neil's daughter got engaged.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
But Ralph, Ralph,
but I
want to say something.
I want to say something about what Ralph said, and because I'm thinking about something that one of our rabbis from the Reform movement wrote, Rabbi Edith Mencher. She wrote a piece. She thinks a lot about forgiveness because, I hear what you're saying, because that type of forgiveness, you said you're not Jewish, but for Jews, it's a little odd, that type of forgiveness, because we expect the person to actually ask, to say.
Well, he was dead.
No, that guy's not dead.
Yeah, he is.
The guy
not the guy who shot the church up.
The guy in the church. He's not.
He's not dead.
He's a white 21-year-old guy.
He's not dead?
No, they got him.
They have him. Yeah. Now,
mixed up too many criminal shots.
We kind of expect people to ask for forgiveness, so it sounds odd. But what Rabbi Mencher said, which really spoke to me, was the sense that what we have to find is not to get away from that hatred in our own hearts. If it's going to make us verbissene, bitter people, if it's going to take out everything of life that's meaningful for us, that we're going to focus on the hatred part of it, we're never going to get anywhere. We're going to never get to the next level.
Well, you know what I do notice
so that part, she said, forgiving that guy is one issue, but finding in our own hearts the way to move on, that's really important.
Go ahead, Neil.
I just want to add that, we got to put it back really in real perspective. You're talking about a 21-year-old junkie that went into a place. I can imagine what his life has been like the last 20 years, probably from foster home to foster home, doing all kinds of drugs.
Is that what they said?
All kinds of things. And he was definitely, in my head, not in his right mind. So, the bottom line is these people are mature enough and understand enough. Hey, the deed was done already. There's no reason to freak out now and make believe like there's a whole community against them and a whole world against them. There was one crackpot who was a crackpot, and that's it.
No, I disagree.
Neil, you're 21 years old.
Hold on, Ralph. And I disagree with both of you because, the Boston bomber, I was reading in the article that a Boston bomber apologizes for the first time. Moments before the judge sentenced him to death, the Boston bomber, he rose to his feet and apologized to the victims of their loved ones. Yeah. Do we forgive him, Ralph? I don't forgive him. I will be bitter for that pig to the rest of my life.
No, they're not forgiving in that manner that he has to escape punishment. They're forgiving in a bigger sense, the big picture. They're forgiving that. There's not a particular, they're not zeroing in and saying, oh, this person here, for his bad deed, we're going to forget about it and forgive him. That's not what's really going on.
Well, if you notice when the Boston Marathon bomber, when he made that statement, which was pretty much expected of him at that time. The victims' loved ones did not accept that statement whatsoever. In fact, they shunned that statement. They shunned him and the statement, saying it was
but he was different,
and he radicalized it.
He
even
was
in his
a
apology.
radical. He wasn't a crazy. He was a radical. There's a difference. He was a radicalized Islamist kind of person. This guy.
What they're doing with for this one kid, this one crazy kid. I'm talking about the Baptist Church now.
Right.
They're trying to do mainstream changes throughout America. They're ripping down all of the now. Number one, the flag I think should be ripped down from the public square there. If an individual wants to hang the flag in his backyard, more power to him. This is called individual rights. But what they're trying to do is make wholesale changes throughout the country, and every Confederate soldier that the street is named after him, or whatever the case may be, they're tearing it down.
That's Eric Holder, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson. Those are the people that are doing that. Because they see big money in this.
Big money.
2 weeks, Neil. This is all happening within the span of 2 weeks.
Right.
It's really outrageous. But listen,
it's overreaction. That's what we're famous for in this country.
I really appreciate filling in. I had a ball, and thank you. And I'm wanting to see all of you. Very soon. I appreciate it.
You better, Ralph.
That was a good time last week. Thank you.
And thank you, Ralph, for coming. We love you, Ralph, and you're my brother, Christian, Jew, Reform. I love you, and you better and you're good. Thank you for calling in, Ralph. We love you so much.
Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Just Enough Heshy Show. We're coming down to the last couple minutes, and we're going to ask if you want to still call in. We're going to take a couple calls, but we still have a couple of questions for the cantor to answer for us. And Neil,
I got a simple question.
Go ahead.
What kind of books do you read as far as on religion? Who are the books that you use? Are you using the Talmud?
We look at everything.
Use the Mishnah?
Sure, absolutely. We look at commentaries. We look at Midrash. We look at Talmud. We look at modern writers.
Like who would be the modern writers?
Some of my personal favorites. You're interested in some of the things I like. I like David Hartman, Rabbi David Hartman. If you look at his works, are great. He's sadly he's no longer with us, but his son continues the Hartman Shalom Hartman Institute in Israel, and he's an Orthodox guy who wrote about why he started to question some of the things and look for more meaning and we look at everything. That's the whole point. I mean, that's really what Reform Judaism is about.
Did you ever come across any material, legitimate material, that would show that the Bible was not written by God, quote unquote, or there were changes made to the original Bible or the scrolls? Do you have any kind of information regarding that?
Well, there's a lot of books you can read about. Let me think of one off the top of my head, but there's a lot of books about how the Bible was put together and where it comes from and who.
Yeah, well, that comes back to my question.
The people that were involved
and the people who were involved in the kind of political generation of it. And
well, that went back to my question.
You can find lots of that. That's been going on since the 19th century.
I have to give my email.
So you're saying,
you're
saying you don't believe it was just a straight channel from God to Moses, written down, done? You think there was more?
According, one minute, Cantor. I want to finish before you answer that question, Cantor. The rabbi said, and at least me and Neil grew up, that it was physically witnessed by the entire world, and that's why we know it today. It's like your mother told you a story about her grandfather, and it was told back and down and in the history of I have a story in my family. But my family tells a story about my great-great-great-grandfather living 100 and something years, doing great things, and the story never changes. That's what they say. Right. They, according to the Orthodox following, and supposedly all Jews, God came down, witnessed by the world, and it's physically guaranteed 1,000,000,000% that he himself handed us these 10 commandments, and he himself handed us the entire Torah, and it cannot be deviated by a drop. Whether it's Reform, Christian.
But again, interpretation is different than deviation. It's two totally different things.
they are doing their own thing. Everybody's doing their own thing with Torah. And if they aren't, they're kidding themselves. But if they don't see
well, some
that,
people
they're
try to
kidding
do it as
themselves.
best as they can.
But
What they
the question
perceive it to be
is,
the best.
Do they go by what the people tell them?
let me say,
What their
is
rabbis
it the
tell
right
them?
question? Is it the right question to ask the question?
What do you mean?
Did it come down from God to Moses on Sinai? Is that the right question? Or is the question, what can really getting into Torah do to make your life meaningful and make your community a better community?
Yes.
And make you more, life is hard. Life is difficult. You face all kinds of tough challenges in life. You face loss. You face illness. What is going to make you realize that there is a vision for you and for all of us that is a better vision? And that is getting into the Torah and understanding what's going to make you open your mind and do things in a better way that is going to give meaning to your life, to your community, and to the Jewish world as a whole, and to the whole world.
It sounds like taking a test and skipping the hardest question and waiting to answer it after you go through all the quick ones.
But doesn't the Torah have? Doesn't the Torah?
And you go back then to the most difficult.
You
can find it out when you go. Maybe.
Maybe
you'll find out the answer to that last question. But maybe that's not the question. That is.
I'm going to ask one final.
No, I don't know if that's the most important. I think the reason why certain people think that it's the most important is because they don't want any change and they don't want to deviate from anything and they don't want to have arguments about it. So if it's coming from God himself, you're not really going to sit
We're down to our last 3 minutes, so we're going to have to ask one quick thing. Kanta, quickly, one quick question. Is the Torah a storybook? Just something like you said.
Much more than a
is it just a story?
Much more than a story.
Or is it the hidden secrets that they tell us that it tells the future that you can, if you are smart enough, you are able to tell the future from this book?
It's more than a storybook. It's more than.
Does it have hidden secrets? Does it have the hidden secrets?
I've heard people say that theory, but why do we turn it over and over and over every year? Why do we keep going?
Why?
Because for each generation, they have to find their own way in Torah. And it says in Torah, it's not too difficult for any of us. It's not it's not in the heavens that somebody
But who's in charge of deciding it?
To go up and get it. It's not over the sea. It's there for all of us to try and get in there and say, why is this message been going on for us for thousands of years? Why we're still connecting with our ancestors through this incredible document that we treat this incredible. Then there's no one in the Reform movement who wouldn't say it's a sacred document. It's Kodesh, it's Chaim, it's the tree.
But it wasn't given by God. According to you, it wasn't given by God.
I don't know if that's the right question.
Why not? And that's not what she said.
I don't know.
She said we don't know, and it's not really a concern. We should be treated as a holy item only for the sake that even though it went from 5,000 years all the way. It's pretty original.
Anyways,
we say every week when we take it out, we say it's a secret to our people's life from Sinai until now.
Right. So it was given by Sinai. You do agree?
We say from Sinai until now. It teaches us freedom. It teaches us joy. It teaches us.
I'm going to cut you off because we're coming to the end of the show. Kanta, thank you for joining the Just Enough Heshy show.
Really appreciate.
I hope you had a very good time. And I'm going to give my closing quote, everybody. And tune in tomorrow night. You're going to hear Rabbi Toby Rubinson Schreier on the show, an Orthodox lady rabbi. And I'm going to give you this closing quote. This is for you, Neil, because I forgive you tonight for all the crazy questions you did. My quote is friendship. True friendship is a plant of slow growth and must undergo and withstand the shocks of adversity before it is entitled to affiliation. I love you, everybody. Tune in tomorrow night. Thank you, Kanta. Thank you for everybody. Good night.